Thanks for joining me. And today we're going to have Ismar Efendic, Infrastructure Manager at GfK, talk to us a little bit about their cloud journey. Ismar, thanks for joining us today.
Welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. So who is GfK and what do they do?
Okay. GfK is on the market for more than 85 years. So we are quite important player in the data intelligence and the data analytics industry. So we do a lot of data crunching, a lot of data insights and so on. So with that long years of experience in that industry, we combine data and science, and we help our customers to make the right business decisions. So as we know, there's more and more data, and this is one of the reasons why we reach out into the different technologies to help us. And on our journey to that, we of course benefit from the public cloud and other cloud services. And we found that the balance between the cloud offerings and the on-prem offerings is actually the hybrid cloud. And this is where we are at the moment on our hybrid cloud journey. And it's really, really exciting to see what you can really bring in and out there and make the best experience for our customers.
That's kind of amazing because I feel like data science is something that we've heard a lot about kind of really in the last 10 years as a broadly across the industry. But you all have been doing it like you said, GfK's been around for 85 years. That's amazing. Tell me, so, your journey to cloud, to take advantage of all of these new, the combination of technologies out there, what prompted your team to look out for that?
The GfK doesn't actually can go on the market and get the off-the-shelf products to do what we are doing. So that being said, we have a lot of, or not a lot of, all of it is our own developed software, tooling, the data processing. And really in order to be faster, to crunch data faster, to deliver our customers faster data and different kind of reporting, we really needed to expand our on-prem, so let's say hostings and so on, to more into the public cloud. And step by step, we are really reaching that end state. And that is one of the reasons, like I said already, the scaling. And the other one is to use the more off-the-shelf some of the services from the public cloud providers. So we don't really need to develop something what is already there, and we focus on our own stuff, what we want to develop.
So great. So it sounds like you wanted to be able to bring new apps to market faster, get the scale across the hybrid cloud, and then be able to take advantage of specific technologies and capabilities that already exist instead of spending that time to build it yourself. Tell me a little bit more about those apps.
The core of the app or of the data processing is developed by us. Then we reach out to different services, let's say like relationship databases or some more infrastructure related stuff, Route 53 and things like that, to make sure that the experience and the presence of us is at best. And really in order to achieve that, we need to be unbiased. So that's why we actually are expanding in different cloud providers. So with the VMC, with the GVME as well, combining with some of our on-premises solutions and so on. Really, it's trying to get the best out what is out there for our need, so that we can be the fastest and the best in what we are doing.
So this truly is a hybrid and multi kind of app and cloud and architecture model, right?
It's there. So we are everywhere. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, you're building everywhere and you're running everywhere. And if I heard you correctly, you have a footprint on premises, you have VMware Cloud on AWS, and then you said you also have, from a VMware perspective, you've tried out the Google VMware engine and then all the native services as well. And how did kind of expanding out into this like kind of hybrid and multi-cloud and app world impact your overall IT operations?
So that is really a good point, and it was, I'm quite sure with many of us, a big challenge as well, is how to bring those that a lot of different technologies, a lot of different providers of that technologies under the let's say single use. So that on the end side where the consumers are using that don't see a big difference. And we are using the Realize Automation Suite for some time already. So we are quite quite along with that product. And for us, it actually helped us a lot to scale and to expand into this hybrid multi-cloud model, because we were able to large extent, bridge this gap of having different interfaces from different providers, but actually providing the same experience with the, again, note, it doesn't matter where it runs when it comes from the infrastructure point of view. So with that, we are really building that strong platform that it can be used.
Now, and vRealize, the vRealize suite has been around at VMware for a while, and it sounds like like you mentioned, you've been using it for quite some time. So that journey must have started with your private cloud. Can you tell us a little bit more about like some of the work that you did within vRealize and how you were able to extend that, as you went out into public cloud?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we started with the vRealize, or as we like to call it, VRA. We started for probably like 8 years already that we are using that. So we are really early adopters of that solution from the VMware. And of course, we started with the private cloud. Why? Because at that time we were heavy on-prem or exclusively on-prem hosted systems. But we already recognized at that time we need to gain some automation. We need to run more services or offer more as a services type of things. And at that time we were anyhow the big VMware shop using the standard stuff, the vSphere, the ESXi host, and all of the things around that. So it was a kind of natural move, I would say, to try out. And 8 years we are still there and expanding and growing, and that is really a great experience. But what we really benefit the most of it is that interface, or that single point of access to the users, and that we could leverage that catalog items. And now with the hybrid cloud, it felt that we are just adding a new data center to some extent. So it was really relatively easy to connect VMware and AWS or Google VMware Engine as well. And more on top of that, to bring those native services. Not all of them, but at least the ones that we use most of it through the same portal.
That's pretty amazing. So for your customers internally, they basically have one catalog, like one storefront that they're going to, that your teams maintain. And they're going to pick from this huge, like this really big library of different services. And to them, it doesn't matter what's really powering it, how it's getting done behind the scenes.
Correct. I mean, you are a point on that one. So it is exactly like that. They have, of course, the understanding where will be deployed, because in some cases, performance, latency, and so on, they want to keep things on one maybe place, not on all places. So they have that awareness, and they can simply just choose from a drop-down menu. Of course, we are supporting a lot the more SRE communities, that they can run that through their codes, really like that UI experience, as well as the infrastructure as a code experience as well.
Did you work with the user community inside of GfK to kind of define what that interface should look like and what kind of services should be in there? How does that collaboration work?
So within the GfK, we have a concept called the community of practices. So we have a lot of these COPs in place for different streams, different technologies, different lifestyles, you name it. And of course, there's one for the cloud computing and for the automation and so on. So we like to reach out to our user group and see what is kind of maybe making some things more difficult to them. What can we automate better, or what we need to automate that it's not automated at the moment. And especially now looking into the hybrid cloud or the hybrid multi-cloud model is really to decide what services make sense to bring, because each public cloud provider offers a range of services in hundreds or even in some cases thousands, and we don't have the time or resources to republish 1,000 services. So this is how we interact, and we collect the feedback, and we are trying to get better and better in that.
That's great, though. But it sounds like you have those community of practices, so people who are interested in various technology areas and such, and there's a feedback loop so that it makes sure that the services that you all are providing are meeting the needs of the business, which is what those application teams, for the apps that they need to build for GfK. So that sounds great. Now there's a service catalog perspective. Now, what happens once people, instantiate their service and then deploy? How does your team, your team, or do the application teams operate that over time? And what are the tools and processes that have put in place to make that, efficient?
So we are trying to foster more this shift left mentality. So it's not just a place where they can spin off or deploy their services or servers and so on. They get a range of day two activities that enables them to follow their systems throughout the entire life cycle, from starting to the decommissioning phase to changing and adopting. So we encourage more of that, and we try to make those services as easy, as accessible as possible. In some cases where it's more complex system, there we have a dedicated teams that can support on the operational side as well. But yeah, we go more with the self-serviceable approach, and my guys are responsible then for the backend, making sure that it's on the best, latest version, patched, secured, governed, and yeah, that's the model that we are trying to live up to.
So you all are effectively operating like a cloud provider yourself. For internally inside of GfK, you're doing all the lifecycle management and that, publishing services for them. And then the end user goes in, kind of initiates the service, and then they have the capabilities to then kind of manage their own service once it's deployed. What else are you implementing beyond the automation part to help with kind of the ongoing operational side?
Yeah, so I mean, the vRealize automation is definitely at the top of it. Of course, with the vRealize orchestrator, which is the brain of the entire operations, if you want to call it like that. Then we benefit from a few other tools from VMware and some other configuration management tools that support us. For example, like VROps that help us to expose some of the basic metrics, which allows then the user to see if their machines is overutilized, underutilized. If they have some issues, they can at least by themselves first see if they have some CPU peaks or memory peaks and so on. Then we make sure that there's a proper CMDB integration, and that the entire life cycle is orchestrated properly then.
That's great. So you're putting these tools in the hands of the user so they can see, how things are behaving, be able to optimize themselves. From a governance model, does your team kind of check in on them if they start to have really poor utilization or performance?
Yeah, for sure. We have some normally alerting, especially for the overutilized, the guys that are going more into the red, because that impacts the other as well users on the environment. So we definitely keep an eye on that, the active and proactive monitoring. We are trying to advise in some cases where we see it's not right size as well. And yeah, the guys are definitely taking care of that part.
Yeah, I guess you're right on. From a compute resource perspective, it's either you're using too much or you're not using enough from what you asked for, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it's hard to find a golden middle.
How does this then marry with the use of the public clouds? Like, what kind of governance do you provide for your teams that are using native public cloud services?
So when we are providing through the ITS, or IT services, that's the acronym ITS stands for, the public cloud services, we want to think that the public services shouldn't have any special treatment. So we really provide the same operations or the governance model around it. And that means that security is the same, or the security policy behind it is the same. The same good configuration or architecture follows that as well. So with these picked public services or public cloud services that we offer, they go through that same regime. And then when the users are using that, they can know it's always the same at the end.
So it sounds like, a lot of this around kind of like service management, the governance, configuration, especially from the aspect of compliance or et cetera. Those are things that are constant, whether it's infrastructure you manage or team manages, or it's infrastructure provided by a cloud service provider.
Correct.
It's kind of what we hear often is like this, sometimes it's a slightly changing role of IT, right? As we start to use more things as a service. So this is great that you're able to kind of apply those principles across this environment. So it's, in many ways, it's also a consistent service experience for your end users.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely an important aspect. So it's the experience, but it's also a stability. And again, a security, which for us is a quite important aspect. Of course, in a data-driven business, you need to make sure that your data is secure. So all of that drives the right behavior at the end, and allows us as well to reach out into some public cloud services, which we benefit out of just using it as they are given there.
Along this journey that you all have been on for almost a decade here, what are some of the outcomes that you've experienced as an organization by leveraging hybrid cloud and public cloud and applying these cloud management practices?
We definitely notice that definitely scaling is a winner when it comes to the hybrid multi-cloud model. So going through the entire procurement process, rack and stacking and all of that good stuff that happens in a data center, that's all good and fine, but that requires a time. And in the current time of the business, the time is critical, right? And with that being said, being able just to add that additional host for additional, I don't know, 20, 50 virtual machines or containers or, and so on, is really a crucial thing that we can add, even if it's for a period of time to bridge the procurement period. Maybe it makes sense more that we keep that on-prem, or if it's purely for the public cloud, then we keep it there as an extended resource. I really wanted to mention the other really important use case that we are now reaching out is the DR, or the disaster recovery capabilities, because we have those capabilities and we want to see how we can enrich them and expand them more really with this hybrid multi-cloud. So that gives us some more insurance that in some disaster situations that we can recover even faster and more resilient then.
So if I heard you correctly, scale, speed, flexibility, and then being able to have a better disaster recovery, disaster response. Those sound really great, and it's exciting to see all that you've accomplished in your team across these, all across almost a decade here on this journey. So what's next for the GfK team on the cloud journey?
So what's next? There's never end to a development and to improvement. We continue to improving the services. We are tuning or doing those fine tunings on the running services. And we definitely want to add more of those services. We want to have that catalog that is nice and shiny and people can just want to go there and click things. But also on the other side, like I said, this DR is something that we are really now want to take onto the next level and see how the hybrid multi-cloud approach can help us more.
Awesome. And just to wrap this up as a closing thought, any piece of advice you have for other organizations who are just kind of starting out on this journey?
Be consistent. I would definitely say that. It's good to explore. So there's definitely other opinions or other approaches that makes more sense. But stick to the decision as you don't want to separate and make public cloud is special. On-prem has, again, special rules and so on. And once you start treating that as a one ecosystem, you will definitely be successful.
That's really interesting. Be consistent. You're going to use all of these things, but think about them as one big set of tools in the toolbox, right? Instead of all these separate little islands. Thank you so much, Ismar, for joining us. It was really great to have you talk and share the story, and we look forward to talking to you soon.
Welcome. Thanks for having me here.
Thank you.